Have you ever felt like the world you grew up in is slowly disappearing? What if everything you believed in was being replaced by something new, and you had to choose between holding on to the past and embracing the future? Today, we're diving into a beautiful and profound story about this very feeling. We're exploring The Leopard by Giuseppe Tomasi de Lampedusa. Stick around, and in just a few minutes, you'll understand the entire story and its powerful, timeless message. The Leopard was written by an Italian nobleman and published after his death. It's a historical novel set in Sicily during the 1860s, a time of huge political change in Italy. But don't worry, this isn't a dry history lesson. It's a deeply human story about family, love, power, and the bittersweet pain of change. This book is still so important because it shows us that even though times change, people's feelings, our ambitions, fears, and hopes stay the same. In this video, we'll walk through the main plot, meet the key characters, and uncover the big ideas that make this book a masterpiece. Think of me as your friend, explaining a great story I just finished. Let's start with our main character, Don Fabrizio Corbera, the Prince of Salina. He is also known as the Leopard because of the family's coat of arms. Imagine a powerful, intelligent man in his late 40s, tall and imposing. He's an aristocrat, used to a world of tradition and order. He's also a passionate astronomer who loves staring at the stars, maybe because they seem more permanent than the world around him. His biggest problem is that he sees his world, the world of the nobility, crumbling. A revolution is happening, and a new, ambitious class of people is rising to power. He feels like a relic, a dinosaur watching his era come to an end. Next, we meet his nephew, Tancredi Falconeri. Tancredi is young, charming, and full of life. He's handsome, witty, and an opportunist. While he is a nobleman by birth, he has no money. His main goal is to secure his future and maintain his status in this new, changing Italy. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He knows the old ways are dying, so he decides to join the revolutionaries. He is a survivor, caught between his loyalty to his family and his ambition to thrive in the new order. His famous line to his uncle sums up his philosophy: if we want things to stay as they are, things will have to change. Finally, there's Angelica Sadar. She is breathtakingly beautiful, the daughter of Don Calogero Sadar, a newly rich and rather unrefined local official. Angelica represents the new rising class, the bourgeoisie. They have money and ambition, but they lack the polish and titles of the old aristocracy. Angelica's goal is to marry into the nobility to gain social status, and she uses her stunning beauty and intelligence to achieve it. She is a symbol of the future, vibrant, powerful, and a little bit ruthless. Her presence creates a major conflict, especially for Tancredi, who is immediately captivated by her. The story begins in Sicily in May 1860. We find Prince Fabrizio and his family at their palace, living a life of routine prayer and elegant dinners. This is their normal world, a world governed by tradition and the authority of the church and the aristocracy. But this calm is just an illusion. Outside, the revolutionary forces of Garibaldi have landed on the island, aiming to unite Italy. This is the trigger event that shatters the prince's peaceful existence. His own nephew, the energetic Tancredi, announces he is leaving to join the revolution. The prince is shocked and worried, but Tancredi explains that joining the rebels is the only way for the nobility to keep some control over the outcome. As the revolution unfolds, the family moves to their country residence in Donafugata. This is where the old world and the new world collide head-on. Tancredi returns as a hero, an officer in the new army. It's here that he meets Angelica, the daughter of the wealthy but vulgar mayor, Don Calogero. Tancredi instantly falls in love with her, or perhaps with her beauty and her family's immense fortune. This is the first big challenge. Tancredi was expected to marry the prince's own daughter, Concetta, who has loved him since childhood. But Tancredi chooses Angelica. He needs her family's money to secure his future career in politics. This choice forces Prince Fabrizio to make a difficult decision. He loves his daughter, But he also understands reality. He sees that an alliance with the new money, represented by Angelica, is the only way for his family and his favorite nephew to survive. He agrees to the engagement between Tancredi and Angelica. This decision is heartbreaking. It's a betrayal of his own class and his own family traditions. You can feel his sadness as he sacrifices his daughter's happiness for the sake of survival. He feels like he is presiding over the funeral of his own world. He watches as the loud and cultured manners of Angelica's father replace the quiet elegance of the aristocracy. The middle of the book is dominated by a long, magnificent ball scene. This isn't just a party, it's a stage where all the social changes are on full display. The old nobles mix awkwardly with the newly rich. Prince Fabrizio watches Tancredi and Angelica, the beautiful, vibrant couple who represent the future. They are the talk of the evening. During a waltz with Angelica, the prince feels a mix of admiration for her vitality and a deep, personal sense of his own decline. He realizes he is old, and his time is over. This is the moment where everything seems lost for him. He is offered a position as a senator in the new Italian government, but he refuses. He explains that Sicilians don't want to improve because they believe they are already perfect. He feels too tied to the old world to be part of the new one. The climax of the story is not a big, loud battle, but this internal moment for Prince Fabrizio. After the ball, as he walks home, he looks up at the sky. He sees Venus, his favorite star, shining brightly. In that moment, he accepts his own mortality and the end of his era. He understands that life, like the stars, goes through cycles of birth and death. His decision to refuse the Senate seat is his final act. He chooses to withdraw and fade away with his world, rather than pretending to belong to a future he doesn't understand or believe in. This moment reveals his true character. He is a proud, dignified man who would rather face his end with honesty than compromise his identity. The story then jumps forward in time. Years pass. Tancredi and Angelica are married and have a successful but ultimately empty life. Tancredi becomes a diplomat but never reaches the great heights he dreamed of. Their marriage, built on ambition and money, lacks real love. Prince Fabrizio dies years later, alone in a hotel room, reflecting on his life. His death is quiet and without ceremony, just like the world he represented. The final chapter jumps even further, to 1910. We see his daughters, old and unmarried, clinging to faded memories and religious relics. The family home is dusty and forgotten. The stuffed body of the prince's favorite dog is thrown out, turning to dust in the courtyard, a final, sad symbol of the complete decay of the Sicilian family and their world. So, what does this story teach us? First, it's about change and how we react to it. The story shows us that change is inevitable. You can be like Tancredi and adapt to survive, or you can be like the prince and accept that your time is passing. There's no right or wrong answer, just different ways of facing the flow of history. Another big theme is the difference between appearance and reality. The aristocracy looks elegant and powerful, but in reality, it's weak and dying. The new class looks crude, but it has the real power of money and energy. Finally, the book talks about memory and decay. It shows us that everything, from great families to personal beauty, eventually fades. It's a bittersweet but realistic look at life. Maybe you've felt this in your own life, seeing things you value change or disappear. You might recognize yourself in Tancredi's ambition, or in the prince's feeling of being left behind. What this book offers is a sense of understanding. It tells us that it's okay to feel sad about what is lost, but it's also a natural part of life. The story encourages us to find dignity in our choices, whether we choose to fight for a place in the new world or to honor the world we came from. To sum it all up, we followed Prince Fabrizio, the leopard, as he watched his aristocratic world crumble and a new one rise. He faced the conflict of change, saw his ambitious nephew Tancredi marry for money, and ultimately chose to retreat with dignity. The message is that everything must change for things to truly stay the same, but this change always comes with a price. The leopard reminds us that beneath the surface of history, It's our personal feelings, our loves, and our losses that truly define our lives. What did you think? Which character did you connect with the most? The proud prince, the ambitious Tancredi, or the beautiful Angelica? Let me know in the comments below. If you've read the book, share your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this summary, please give this video a like and subscribe for more simple and beautiful book stories. Thanks for watching. Have you ever felt like you're just drifting through life, not quite sure who you really are? What if you had the chance to pause everything and figure out your true self, your real purpose, today? We're diving into a book that asks these very questions, The Man Without Qualities by Robert Musil. Don't worry, this isn't a stuffy lecture. I promise that in the next 10 minutes, you'll understand this huge, famous novel and its powerful message for our lives today. So, what is this book? Robert Musil wrote it in the early 20th century, a time of big changes and confusion, much like our own. It's a psychological novel, which means it's all about what's happening inside people's minds. It's not an adventure with dragons, but an adventure into the human soul. This book is still so important because it talks about feeling lost in a modern world, something many of us can relate to. We'll explore the main story, meet the fascinating characters, and uncover the big ideas that can help you see your own life in a new light. Think of me as your friend, guiding you through this incredible story. Let's meet our main character, Ulrich. He's 32, smart, handsome, and has tried being a soldier, an engineer, and a mathematician. But nothing feels right. He feels like he has many potential qualities, but no single, real identity. That's why he's called the man without qualities. He decides to take a one-year break from life to find out who he is supposed to be. His biggest problem is that he sees every side of every issue, which makes it impossible for him to choose a path or truly believe in anything. Then there are the people around him. We have his cousin, Diotima. She runs a fancy salon and is the face of a big social movement called the Collateral Campaign. She wants to find a grand, unifying idea for the Austrian Empire, something to celebrate humanity's soul. But deep down, she's a bit lost herself, caught between her boring husband and a new admirer. We also meet a dangerous and brilliant criminal named Moosbrugger. He's a violent murderer, but his case fascinates everyone. They see him as a symbol of the dark, chaotic side of human nature that society tries to hide. Finally, there's Agathe, Ulrich's twin sister. She appears later in the story and feels just as lost and disconnected as he does. She's trapped in an unhappy marriage and is searching for a more authentic way to live. The story begins in Vienna, in the year 1913. Just before World War I is about to explode, everything on the surface seems elegant and orderly. Ulrich has just arrived back in the city and decides to take his vacation from life. He wants to observe the world without getting involved, like a scientist studying an experiment. He's looking for a way to live a life that makes sense, a life with meaning. Everything changes when he gets drawn into the Collateral Campaign. This campaign is a huge patriotic project meant to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the emperor's reign. The goal is to find a great idea that will define the spirit of Austria. It's a bit silly and very chaotic, with committees, politicians, and aristocrats all trying to come up with something profound. But mostly just talking in circles. Ulrich joins this campaign. But not because he believes in it. He sees it as a perfect laboratory to study modern society. He watches as people chase after big, empty words like soul, spirit, and true progress without any real understanding. This is the first big challenge. Ulrich tries to use his logical mind to make sense of the chaos, but he finds that logic can't solve human problems. He sees hypocrisy everywhere. People say they want peace and unity, but they are full of ambition and jealousy. He feels more and more detached, like a spectator at a ridiculous play. He has a complicated affair with Bonadia, a woman who is constantly cheating on her husband, and he has long philosophical talks with Diotima, who is falling in love with the idea of him. The second big challenge comes when his father dies. This event forces Ulrich to reconnect with his past and his family. He meets his twin sister, Agathe, for the first time in years. This is a huge turning point. He discovers that Agatha feels just as disconnected from the world as he does. They are like two halves of the same person. They understand each other perfectly, without needing to explain themselves. They call themselves the Siamese twins. This connection feels like the first truly real thing in Ulrich's life. Together, they decide to leave the silly collateral campaign behind and start their own experiment, to live a life based purely on feeling and spiritual connection. Away from the rules of society. This leads to the climax of their personal story. Ulrich and Agatha isolate themselves in a house and garden, trying to create their own perfect world. They call this state the millennium or the other condition. It's a beautiful, intense, and strange journey into their own souls. They try to live a life of pure love and understanding, exploring feelings that go beyond normal brother-sister relationships. They want to see if two people can become one soul. This moment is the heart of the book. Ulrich has finally stopped just thinking about life and has started to truly live it, to feel it intensely. He risks everything: social acceptance, his old self, everything for this one chance at a truly meaningful existence with his sister. The book famously has no real ending because Musil died before he could finish it. So what happens to the characters? We don't get a neat conclusion. Ulrich and Agatha's experiment in the garden continues, but we see hints that this perfect union cannot last forever in the real world. The world outside is moving towards war. The collateral campaign fades into irrelevance as the drums of World War I get louder. We are left with a feeling of suspense and uncertainty. The characters haven't necessarily won or lost, but they have changed. Ulrich started as a man who only observed, but with Agatha, he learned to feel. The ending is bittersweet and open, leaving us to wonder what might have happened next. Their lives are completely different from where they started. They have traded a life of empty possibilities for one intense, real, but perhaps impossible experience. So what is this giant book really about? First, this book talks about the search for identity in a confusing world. Like Ulrich, we often feel we could be many things, but we struggle to choose one path. The story shows us that maybe a fixed identity isn't the point. Maybe life is more about exploring possibilities. Second, the story is a critique of a society that loves big ideas but has lost its heart. The collateral campaign is a perfect example of people talking about goodness and truth without actually being good or truthful. The book shows us that real meaning is found in personal connections, not in grand, empty slogans. Finally, through Ulrich and Agatha, we understand the deep human need for connection and a different way of living. Their intense relationship explores whether love can be a path to a spiritual, more meaningful life, away from society's expectations. Maybe you've also felt like Ulrich, standing on the sidelines of your own life, overthinking everything. Or perhaps you recognize yourself in Agatha's desire to break free from a life that feels like a prison. This book doesn't give you easy answers. Instead, it gives you permission to question everything. It tells you that it's okay to feel lost sometimes. The most important lesson we can take from The Man Without Qualities is the value of staying open, of being on a vacation from life now and then, to really ask ourselves, what do I truly feel? What kind of life do I want to live? It encourages us to find our own other condition, our own small island of meaning in a chaotic world. So, we've journeyed with Ulrich from his detached observations to his intense connection with Agatha, from the silly politics of Vienna to the quiet magic of their garden. We've seen how a man without qualities tried to find a quality life. This book is a mirror that shows us our own search for meaning. What did you think? Which character did you connect with the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you've read The Man Without Qualities, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't, I hope this summary has made you curious. Please like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more simple and beautiful book summaries. Thanks for watching. Have you ever wished you could stay young and beautiful forever? What if you could live any life you wanted, without any consequences showing on your face? This is the tempting deal at the heart of the famous novel, The Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This book was written a long time ago, but its story feels so modern. It's a gripping, and sometimes chilling, tale about beauty, youth, and the choices we make. Oscar Wilde was a brilliant writer known for his wit and sharp observations about society, and this book is his masterpiece. It asks us a timeless question: what is more important, our outer beauty or our inner goodness? And what happens when we sacrifice one for the other? Let's dive into this unforgettable story. Our story revolves around three key men in London. First, there's Dorian Gray. He's incredibly handsome, young, and charming, but also very impressionable. At the start, he's a sweet, innocent young man who everyone adores. Then we have Basil Hallward, a talented and kind-hearted painter. Basil is completely captivated by Dorian's beauty. He sees Dorian as his ultimate artistic inspiration. He feels that Dorian's presence has unlocked a new level of his art. Finally, there's the influential Lord Henry Wotton, or Harry, as his friends call him. Lord Henry is a clever, cynical aristocrat who loves to challenge conventional ideas. He's a master of words and has a very persuasive and dangerous philosophy about life. He believes that only things worth pursuing are youth, beauty, and pleasure. His main problem is that he loves to influence people, like a puppeteer, without ever getting his own hands dirty. Dorian's main problem is that he is easily influenced and soon becomes terrified of losing his good looks and growing old. The story begins in Basil Hallward's sunny studio. Basil has just finished his greatest work, a stunning, lifelike portrait of Dorian Gray. Lord Henry is there chatting with Basil, and he's eager to meet the young man who inspired such a masterpiece. When Dorian arrives, Lord Henry is immediately fascinated by him. He starts sharing his controversial ideas with Dorian, telling him that beauty and youth are the only things that matter in life, and that he should experience everything, good and bad. Lord Henry's words plant a seed of fear and vanity in Dorian's mind. As Dorian stares at his own perfect image in the portrait, a terrible thought strikes him. He will grow old and wrinkled, but the painting will stay forever young and beautiful. In a moment of panic, he makes a desperate wish. He wishes that the painting would age and show the marks of his sins, while he himself would remain forever young and untouched. He doesn't know it yet, but his wish has been granted. Now, with Lord Henry as his guide, Dorian begins to explore a new lifestyle focused entirely on pleasure. He falls in love with a young actress named Sybil Vane. She is a brilliant performer, and Dorian is enchanted by her talent. He sees her as a character from a play, not a real person. He gets engaged to her and invites Basil and Lord Henry to watch her perform. But that night, Sybil's performance is terrible. Why? Because her love for Dorian is so real, she can no longer pretend to be someone else on stage. Dorian is disgusted. He cruelly breaks up with her, telling her she has killed his love. Heartbroken, Sybil takes her own life that night. When Dorian gets home, he notices the first change in the portrait. There's a new touch of cruelty on its mouth. The painting has started to bear the weight of his soul. At first, he feels a moment of guilt, but Lord Henry convinces him that Sybil's death is just like a dramatic scene from a play and that he shouldn't worry about it. Dorian chooses to hide the painting away in a locked room at the top of his house, and he continues his life of pleasure. For the next 18 years, Dorian Gray lives a double life. To the world, he is still the stunningly handsome and charming young man he always was. His face shows no signs of aging or of the dark secrets he keeps. He dives into every possible pleasure, collecting beautiful objects, studying perfumes, and attending endless parties. But behind this perfect mask, his soul is rotting. Rumors start to spread about his scandalous and corrupting influence on others. Young men who were once his friends find their reputations ruined. All the while, the portrait locked away in the attic becomes more and more hideous. Every cruel act, every sin, every moment of selfishness adds another ugly feature to the painted face. It transforms from a beautiful young man into a monstrous, sneering old creature. The painting becomes Dorian's terrifying secret, a visual diary of his moral decay. He becomes obsessed with it, sometimes hating it, and other times feeling a sick fascination with its ugliness, because it reminds him of the life of sensation he is living. One night, on the eve of Dorian's 30th birthday, Basil Hallward confronts him. Basil is about to leave for Paris and wants to know if the terrible rumors about Dorian are true. He can't understand how Dorian can look so pure and innocent while his reputation is so dark. Dorian, in a moment of mad impulse, decides to show Basil his secret. He takes him up to the locked room and unveils the monstrous portrait. Basil is horrified. He can barely recognize his own masterpiece. He sees the face of evil staring back at him. He begs Dorian to pray for forgiveness, telling him it's not too late to change. But Dorian is filled with a sudden, uncontrollable rage. He blames Basil for creating the painting, for starting his whole downward spiral. In a fit of fury, Dorian grabs a knife and murders the artist, his former friend. The man who once worshipped him now lies dead at his feet. Dorian feels a moment of calm, and then he blackmails an old acquaintance, a chemist, to help him dispose of the body, destroying any evidence of his crime. The murder of Basil marks a point of no return for Dorian. He tries to forget what he has done by sinking even deeper into a life of sin, but he is now haunted by fear and paranoia. He can't escape the memory of his crime. One night, he is threatened by Sybil Vane's brother, James, who has been searching for him for years to get revenge. Dorian cleverly escapes by pointing out that he looks far too young to be the man who wronged his sister 18 years ago. But his close call with death leaves him terrified. Dorian decides he wants to change. He tries to perform a good deed by sparing a young village girl he was pursuing. He thinks this act of mercy might begin to reverse the damage on the portrait. He rushes back to the attic, hoping to see an improvement in the painted face. But when he unveils the portrait, he is met with a horrifying sight. The painting looks even more grotesque. A look of hypocrisy has been added to its evil smile. He realizes that even his good deed was motivated by vanity and curiosity, not genuine goodness. He understands that the portrait is the only evidence of his crimes and the true reflection of his soul. In a final, desperate act, he decides he must destroy it. He grabs the same knife he used to kill Basil Hallward and plunges it into the painting. A terrible cry is heard from the street. His servants rush upstairs to the locked room. Inside, they find the magnificent portrait of Dorian Gray, looking as beautiful and young as the day it was painted. On the floor lies the body of a withered, wrinkled, and hideous old man, with a knife in his heart. It is only by his rings that they recognize him as their master, Dorian Gray. In trying to destroy his soul, he had only succeeded in destroying himself. So, what can we take away from this dark and fascinating story? One of the biggest themes is the danger of vanity and placing too much value on appearances. Dorian's obsession with his own beauty leads him down a path of destruction. It reminds us that true character is about who we are on the inside, not what we look like on the outside. Another important idea is the influence we have on each other. Lord Henry's words completely changed the course of Dorian's life, pushing him towards selfishness. It is a powerful reminder to be careful about the advice we take and the influence we have on our friends and family. Your actions and words matter. Ultimately, the portrait of Dorian Gray teaches us that we can't escape the consequences of our actions. Every choice we make, good or bad, leaves a mark on us, even if it's not visible on our faces. The story is a cautionary tale about accountability and the importance of living an authentic, moral life. What did you think of Dorian's story? Do you think Lord Henry was the real villain? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this summary, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more easy-to-understand book summaries. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Have you ever found yourself just waiting for something to happen? Waiting for that perfect job, that special person, or for your life to finally begin? What if that waiting was all there was? Today, let's explore this very idea with the famous play, Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. This isn't your typical story with a clear beginning, middle, and end. It's a play written by Irish author Samuel Beckett, and it's what people call a tragicomedy, a mix of sad and funny. When it first came out, It confused a lot of people. But today, it's seen as a masterpiece. Why? Because it asks some of the biggest questions about life, meaning, and what we do with our time, in a way that's both bizarre and deeply human. The story centers on two main characters, Vladimir and Estragon. You can call them Didi and Gogo. They're like an old married couple, bickering one moment and comforting each other the next. They don't have much, just their worn-out clothes, a bare tree for company, and each other. What do they want? It's simple. They are waiting for someone named Godot. They believe that when Godot arrives, everything will be better. Their problem is, Godot never seems to show up. The play opens with our two friends, Vladimir and Estragon, by a lonely road next to a single, leafless tree. Estragon is struggling to take off his boot, a small problem that feels huge. Vladimir is just happy to see his friend again after a night apart. They quickly get back to their routine, waiting. They talk to pass the time, discussing everything and nothing. They talk about the Bible, tell jokes, and wonder if they should just give up and leave. But they can't. They have to wait for Godot. Their waiting is interrupted by the arrival of two new characters, Pazzo and Lucky. Pazzo is a loud, bossy man who holds a rope tied around the neck of his servant, Lucky. Lucky carries all of Pazzo's heavy bags and never speaks a word, at least not at first. Pazzo is a strange and cruel master. He eats chicken while Vladimir and Estragon look on hungrily, and he treats Lucky like an animal. He tells them he is on his way to the market to sell Lucky. To entertain Didi and Gogo, Pazzo commands Lucky to think. Suddenly, Lucky, who has been silent and still, launches into a long, rambling, and almost nonsensical speech. It's a flood of words about God, humanity, and a world that seems to be wasting away. It's confusing and chaotic, and it eventually gets so overwhelming that the others tackle him to make him stop. After this strange performance, Pazzo and Lucky continue on their way, leaving Vladimir and Estragon alone once more. As evening falls, a young boy appears. He brings a message. It's from Godot. The boy tells them that Mr. Godot will not be coming today, but he will surely come tomorrow. Vladimir asks the boy some questions, trying to get more information about this mysterious Godot, but the boy is shy and doesn't know much. After the boy leaves, Vladimir and Estragon are left in the fading light. They talk about leaving, even about ending their own lives, but they don't move. The first act ends with them standing exactly where they were, still waiting. The second act begins the next day, in the same place. The tree, which was bare before, now has a few leaves on it. It's a small sign that time has passed, but everything else feels exactly the same. Estragon has forgotten almost everything about the day before. He doesn't remember Pazzo and Lucky. Vladimir has to remind him of what happened, trying to hold onto the certainty of his own memory. They go back to their old habits, talking, arguing, and trying to fill the endless, empty hours. They are still waiting for Godot. Soon enough, Pazzo and Lucky return. But something has changed dramatically. Pazzo is now blind, and he stumbles and falls, unable to get up on his own. Lucky is now mute. He can no longer think or speak at all. They are a pathetic sight. Pazzo doesn't remember meeting Vladimir and Estragon the day before. His power and arrogance are gone, replaced by desperation and confusion. After a chaotic interaction where everyone ends up in a heap on the ground, Pazzo and Lucky manage to leave, stumbling off into the distance. Their second appearance is even stranger and sadder than the first. Once again, Vladimir and Estragon are left alone to wait. As night approaches, the same boy from yesterday appears. He delivers the exact same message. Mr. Godot is not coming today, but he will be here tomorrow. Vladimir gets frustrated. He presses the boy, asking if he remembers him from yesterday, but the boy says this is his first time here. It's as if the world is stuck in a loop, where every day is a repeat of the last, and nobody remembers anything. After the boy leaves, Vladimir and Estragon are back where they started. They are tired and hopeless. The promise of tomorrow feels empty. They again consider leaving. They even talk about hanging themselves from the tree, but they don't have a strong enough rope. So, what do? Nothing. The play ends with them deciding to leave, but they do not move. They just stand there, as the curtain falls, trapped in their endless waiting. So, what's the big idea here? One of the main themes is the search for meaning in a seemingly meaningless world. Vladimir and Estragon are waiting for Godot because they believe he will give their lives purpose. In our own lives, we often do the same thing. We wait for a new job, a new relationship, or a future event, thinking that's when our real life will start. The play asks, what if that thing never comes? What do we do then? Another key theme is friendship and dependency. Didi and Gogo can't seem to live without each other. They know each other, they fight, but they also protect and need one another. Their friendship is what helps them get through the long, empty days. It shows how important human connection is, especially when we feel lost or alone. Even when everything else seems pointless, their bond is real. Finally, the play explores the nature of time and memory. Does yesterday even matter if no one remembers it? For Vladimir, memory is a burden because he seems to be the only one who remembers. For Estragon, forgetting is a relief. This constant cycle of forgetting and repeating makes their waiting feel like an eternal loop. It makes you think about how we experience time and how our daily routines can sometimes feel like we're just running in place. So, what's the life lesson from waiting for Godot? Maybe the point isn't about who or what Godot is. Maybe the point is about the waiting itself. The play suggests that life isn't about waiting for some big answer or a magical solution. It's about what we do while we wait. It's about the conversations we have, the friendships we maintain, and how we choose to face each day, even when it feels pointless. It encourages us to find meaning not in the future, but right here, in the present moment, with the people around us. What do you think? Is it better to wait for something that might never come, or to create your own meaning right now? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more simple summaries of great stories. Thanks for watching. Have you ever felt like you're running from something, only to find you're running right into it? Or have you ever made a decision thinking it was the best one, but it turned out to be a huge mistake? This is exactly the kind of trap we're going to talk about today in the ancient Greek story, Oedipus the King by Sophocles. This isn't just some old, dusty play. It's a powerful tragedy written over 2,000 years ago in Athens. Think of it as one of the world's first detective stories, but with a massive, jaw-dropping twist. The reason we still talk about it today is because it asks some of the biggest questions we all face. How much control do we really have over our lives? Can we truly escape our destiny? So, let's meet our main character, Oedipus. He's the king of a city called Thebes, and he's a total hero. He's smart, brave, and the people love him. He became king by solving a really difficult riddle from a monster called the Sphinx, saving the city. So, he's a problem solver, a man of action. What he wants most is to protect his people and be a good, just ruler. But his city, Thebes, has a huge problem. A terrible plague is sweeping through, and people are dying everywhere. It's a crisis, and everyone is looking to Oedipus to save them once again. The story begins with the desperate people of Thebes begging Oedipus for help. The plague is devastating their city, and they see him as their only hope. Oedipus, being the responsible king he is, has already sent his brother-in-law Creon to the oracle at Delphi to ask the gods for guidance. Think of the oracle as a spiritual hotline to the gods. Creon comes back with a shocking message. The gods are angry because the person who murdered the previous king, Laius, is living unpunished in Thebes. The plague won't end until this killer is found and either exiled or killed. Oedipus is determined to find the truth. He publicly curses the murderer, whoever they may be, and promises to bring them to justice. He has no idea that this investigation will lead him down a path of uncovering his own dark secrets. Oedipus starts his investigation like a true detective. He calls for a famous blind prophet named Tiresias, who is said to know the secrets of the gods. At first, Tiresias refuses to speak. He knows the truth is so terrible that it will destroy Oedipus. He begs the king to stop asking questions. But Oedipus is proud and hot-tempered. He gets angry and accuses Tiresias of being part of the plot to kill the old king. Backed into a corner, Tiresias finally explodes with the truth. He points at Oedipus and says, "You are the murderer you are looking for." He also drops another bombshell. Oedipus is living in a shameful relationship with his closest relatives. Oedipus is furious. He thinks this is all a conspiracy, that Creon and Tiresias are trying to overthrow him and steal his throne. He completely dismisses the prophet's words as nonsense. But a seed of doubt has been planted. Oedipus's wife, Eucasta, who was also the wife of the previous king, tries to calm him down. She tells him not to believe in prophecies. She shares a story to prove her point. She says an oracle once told her and her first husband, King Laius, that their own son would kill him. To prevent this, they had their baby son taken away to be abandoned on a mountain to die. So, you see, she says, Laius wasn't killed by his son. He was killed by robbers at a place where three roads meet. Eucasta's story is meant to comfort Oedipus, but it has the opposite effect. The detail about the place where three roads meet sends a chill down his spine. He remembers a time, long ago, when he was traveling and got into a fight with an older man and his servants at a similar crossroads. He killed them all in self-defense. He starts to worry. What if that man was King Laius? The suspense builds as Oedipus and Eucasta try to piece together the puzzle. Oedipus explains his own backstory. He grew up in a city called Corinth, believing he was the son of its king and queen. But one day, a drunk man at a party told him he wasn't their real son. His parents denied it, but the doubt lingered. So, Oedipus went to the oracle at Delphi himself. The oracle didn't answer his question about his parents. Instead, it gave him a terrifying prophecy. He was destined to kill his father and marry his mother. Horrified, Oedipus ran away from Corinth, vowing never to return, to make sure the prophecy could never come true. It was during this journey that he had the fatal encounter at the crossroads and eventually arrived in Thebes, where he solved the Sphinx's riddle and was made king, marrying a widowed queen, Eucasta. Do you see how the pieces are starting to fit together in the most terrible way? The key turning point comes when a messenger arrives from Corinth. He brings news that the king of Corinth, the man Oedipus believed was his father, has died of old age. Oedipus and Eucasta are filled with relief. It seems the prophecy was wrong after all. He didn't kill his father. But their relief is short-lived. To comfort Oedipus further, the messenger reveals a secret. Oedipus was never the biological son of the king and queen of Corinth. The messenger himself, when he was a shepherd, was given a baby with his ankles pinned together, found on a mountain. He then gave this baby to the childless king of Corinth. Eucasta freezes in horror. She understands everything now. The baby from the mountain, the prophecy, the crossroads, it all connects. The baby she and Laius abandoned was saved and grew up to be Oedipus. She begs Oedipus to stop the investigation, to leave the truth buried. But he is now obsessed with finding out who he really is, believing the worst he could be is the son of a commoner. The final piece of the puzzle arrives with an old shepherd. He is the very man who was ordered by Eucasta to abandon her baby on the mountain. He is also the only surviving witness from the attack where King Laius was killed. Under intense pressure from Oedipus, the terrified shepherd finally confesses the whole truth. He admits he was supposed to leave the baby to die, but he took pity on him and gave him to another shepherd, the one who is now the messenger from Corinth. And yes, that baby was the son of King Laius and Eucasta. The truth is finally out, and it's worse than anyone could have imagined. Oedipus is the son of Laius and Eucasta. He unknowingly killed his own father at the crossroads and then married his own mother, having children with her. The prophecy he spent his entire life running from has come true in every single detail. In a state of pure agony and self-loathing, Oedipus rushes into the palace. He finds that Yocasta has taken her own life. Overcome with grief and shame, he takes the golden pins from her dress and blinds himself, saying he no longer deserves to see the light of day, his children, or his city. The story ends with the blind Oedipus, once a proud and powerful king, now a broken man, begging to be exiled from Thebes, just as he had cursed the killer to be. So, what are the big ideas here? One of the main themes is fate versus free will. Oedipus tried everything in his power to avoid his terrible destiny. He was a smart man who made conscious choices, but every choice he made just pushed him closer to fulfilling the prophecy. It makes you wonder how much control we really have over our own lives. Another key theme is the danger of pride and ignorance. Oedipus was so sure of his own intelligence and righteousness that he couldn't see the truth even when it was right in front of him. He was blind to his own identity long before he physically blinded himself. It's a powerful reminder to stay humble and be open to uncomfortable truths about ourselves. He was so focused on finding an external enemy, he never thought to look within. So, what can we learn from Oedipus's tragic story? It teaches us that sometimes, the search for truth can be painful, but avoiding it can be even more destructive. It also shows us that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to it. Oedipus, in the end, takes responsibility for his actions, even those he committed unknowingly. He accepts his punishment, which is a powerful, though heartbreaking, act of courage. What did you think of this story? Do you believe in destiny? Or do you think we make our own luck? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this summary and want to understand more classic stories in a simple way, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Have you ever wondered if the big choices you make in life are truly meaningful? Or do they just happen by chance, light and insignificant? What if you only get one shot at life, with no second chances to make things right? Today, we're diving into a book that asks these very questions. The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. This amazing novel was written by Milan Kundera, a Czech-born writer. It's a story about love, philosophy, and life set against the backdrop of a major historical event in Prague. Even though it was written a while ago, the questions it raises about our lives, our choices, and our relationships are just as relevant today. It makes you think about how we find meaning in a world where everything happens only once. Let's meet our main characters. First, there's Tomas, a successful surgeon in Prague. He's a man who loves women but is terrified of commitment. He believes in what he calls lightness, separating love from sex. He has many casual relationships and tries to keep his life free from heavy emotional burdens. Then we meet Teresa. She's a young woman from a small town who falls deeply in love with Tomas. Unlike him, Teresa craves weight and meaning. She wants a committed, soulful love, and she is haunted by a sense of vulnerability and the feeling that her body is just an object. The two other key characters are Sabina and Franz. Sabina is an artist and one of Tomas's long-term mistresses. She's the ultimate embodiment of lightness. She finds freedom in betrayal and is always on the move, never settling down, always escaping any form of commitment, whether it's to a person, a country, or an ideology. Franz is a Swiss academic and Sabina's lover. He is the opposite of Sabina. He represents weight. He's serious, loyal, and looks for grand meaning in everything. He leaves his wife for Sabina, hoping for a deep, committed love. But she eventually leaves him because she can't stand his heaviness. The story begins when Tomas meets Teresa in her small town. A series of 6 chance occurrences leads her to follow him to Prague. Tomas is drawn to her, but he's also scared of the commitment she represents. He feels a strange compassion for her, like she's a child left in a basket on the riverbank for him to find. Despite his own rules, he lets her move in with him. This is the central conflict of their relationship: his desire for lightness versus her need for weight and faithfulness. Tomas continues his affairs, which deeply hurts Teresa. She has terrible nightmares and feels like her identity is being erased by his infidelity. She loves him so much, but his lifestyle tortures her. She tries to understand his world of lightness, even attempting to have her own affair. but it only brings her more pain. Their complicated love story unfolds against the backdrop of the 1968 Prague Spring, a brief period of political freedom in Czechoslovakia, which is then crushed by a Soviet invasion. This historical event forces them to make a life-changing decision. They escape to Zurich, Switzerland, where Tomas can continue his career and be free from political turmoil. But Teresa is incredibly unhappy there. She feels lost and disconnected from her home. For her, the lightness of living in a foreign country without her roots is unbearable. She decides to return to Prague, even though it's now a dangerous and oppressive place. Here's the key turning point. Tomas, faced with a choice between his freedom and career in Zurich and his love for Teresa in a politically repressed Prague, makes a surprising decision. He follows her back. He chooses her. This is a huge moment for him. By returning, he gives up his prestigious job as a surgeon because he refuses to cooperate with the new political regime. He becomes a window washer, and later they move to the countryside to live a simple life, away from the politics and temptations of the city. In the countryside, something beautiful happens. They find a new kind of peace. Tomas is finally free from his constant need for other women. His and Teresa's love becomes simpler, quieter, and more profound. They have a dog named Karenine, who loves them unconditionally and teaches them about the simple joys of being. Their life is no longer about the grand ideas of lightness and weight, but about the small, everyday moments of happiness they share. The story ends by telling us that they die together in a truck accident. It's a sudden and random end, reinforcing the idea that life is fragile and unpredictable. In a way, their final years in the countryside were their happiest. A period of gentle wait that they both came to cherish. So, what are the big ideas in this book? The most important one is lightness versus weight. Is it better to live a life free of burdens, where your choices don't matter much because you only live once? That's lightness. Or is it better to live a life full of meaning, commitment, and responsibility, where every choice has weight? The novel doesn't give a simple answer. It shows how both can be unbearable. Tomas seeks lightness but finds it empty without Teresa. Teresa seeks weight but is crushed by Tomas's infidelities. Ultimately, they find a balance in the countryside, a life that has just enough weight to be meaningful but is light enough to be happy. Another key theme is the idea of the eternal return. This is a philosophical concept that asks, what if you had to live your life over and over again, exactly the same way, for eternity? If that were true, every choice would have immense weight. But Kundera suggests that because we only live once, life has an unbearable lightness. Our choices feel less significant because they'll never be repeated. This can be liberating, but also terrifying. It forces us to ask how we create meaning in a single, fleeting life. Finally, the book explores the difference between love and sex. For Tomas, they are separate things. He loves Teresa, but he doesn't see his physical relationships with other women as a betrayal of that love. For Teresa, love and sex are inseparable. His actions feel like a profound betrayal of their bond. The story really makes you think about your own views on love, loyalty, and relationships. It challenges you to consider what faithfulness really means to you and your partner. So what can we take away from the unbearable lightness of being? It teaches us that there are no easy answers in life. Our choices, big and small, shape who we are. Maybe the goal isn't to choose between a light life or a heavy one, but to find a balance that feels right for us. It encourages us to be compassionate with ourselves and with others, because everyone is just trying to figure out how to live their one and only life. The story reminds us to cherish the simple moments of happiness and the people we love, because in the end, that might be the most meaningful thing of all. What do you think? Is it better to live a life of lightness or a life of weight? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this summary and want to explore more life-changing books, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Have you ever felt like you're surrounded by secrets and everyone is hiding something? What if the truth was locked away in a book, and people were willing to kill to keep it hidden? This is the world you'll step into with The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. Published in 1980, this isn't just a historical novel. It's a thrilling detective story set in a mysterious medieval monastery. Umberto Eco was an incredibly smart Italian writer and philosopher, and he packed this book with mystery, history, and big ideas. Even though it takes place almost 700 years ago, its questions about knowledge, truth, and power are just as important today. It's a book that makes you think while keeping you on the edge of your seat. Our story is seen through the eyes of Ezzo of Melk, a young apprentice monk. He's full of youthful curiosity and a little bit naive. He looks up to his master, William of Baskerville, a brilliant English friar who is basically the Sherlock Holmes of the 14th century. William is sharp, logical, and believes in the power of reason and evidence. They arrive at a remote Italian abbey for a very important religious debate. But their mission takes a dark turn when they discover the monastery is hiding a deadly secret. William wants to uncover the truth, while Ezzo wants to understand the confusing world of adults, faith, and his own growing feelings. Their problem: the monastery is a labyrinth of secrets, and a murderer is on the loose, picking off monks one by one. The story begins in the freezing winter of 1327. William and Ezzo arrive at a magnificent but eerie Benedictine abbey high in the Italian Alps. They're there for a debate, but the abbot immediately asks for William's help. A young monk has died under very strange circumstances. William, with his keen eye for detail, starts investigating. He quickly realizes this was no accident. It was murder. He and Ezzo begin to explore the monastery. Talking to the other monks, they find a community full of fear, superstition, and suspicion. Many monks believe the devil is at work, pointing to signs from the Book of Revelation. But William suspects a more human evil is responsible. As the days go on, the body count rises. Each death is more bizarre and disturbing than the last, and they all seem to be connected to the monastery's famous library. This library is no ordinary collection of books. It's a giant, confusing maze, a labyrinth that only the librarian is supposed to know how to navigate. It's said to be the greatest library in all of Christendom, holding thousands of precious manuscripts. William becomes convinced that the motive for the murders is hidden somewhere inside this library, maybe in a specific, forbidden book. The monks are terrified of the library, and the librarian, a blind and mysterious old man named Jorge of Burgos, seems determined to keep everyone out. He believes some books are too dangerous for people to read, especially books that encourage laughter and questioning. William and Ezzo face constant obstacles. The abbot wants the mystery solved before the important delegates arrive for the debate, but he's also afraid of what William might uncover. Other monks lie, hide clues, and try to mislead them. The clues are cryptic, often taking the form of riddles or coded messages found in manuscripts. William uses his incredible mind to piece everything together, a bit like solving a complex puzzle. In the midst of all this danger, Ezzo has his own personal journey. He meets a poor, beautiful peasant girl who has snuck into the abbey for food. He experiences love and desire for the first time, which confuses his faith and his duties as a monk. It's a powerful and emotional experience that makes him question everything he's been taught. The turning point comes when William finally figures out how to get into the secret part of the library. He and Ezzo navigate the terrifying maze in the dead of night, following a trail of clues. There, in a hidden chamber, they confront the blind librarian, Jorge. The final showdown is intense. William and Jorge have a passionate debate about the nature of knowledge. Jorge reveals he has been poisoning the monks to stop them from reading a specific book, a lost second part of Aristotle's Poetics, that discusses comedy. Jorge believes laughter is dangerous because it destroys fear, and without fear of God, people will lose their faith. He thinks it's better for people to die than for this dangerous idea to spread. In a desperate final act, the old librarian tries to destroy the book by eating its poisoned pages and then starts a fire. The fire spreads uncontrollably, and soon the entire magnificent library, with all its priceless knowledge, is engulfed in flames. William and Ezzo barely escape with their lives. They watch in horror as the work of centuries turns to ash. The murders are solved, but at a terrible cost. The library, the center of their world, is gone forever. The story ends with William and Edzo leaving the smoldering ruins of the abbey. Edzo is now a changed man, no longer an innocent boy. They part ways, and Edzo spends the rest of his long life reflecting on the events he witnessed, trying to make sense of the love, loss, and wisdom he gained. So, what can we take away from this epic story? One of the biggest themes is the battle between knowledge and ignorance. Jorge represents the fear of new ideas, the desire to control what people think by keeping them in the dark. William, on the other hand, represents the power of curiosity, reason, and open-mindedness. This is something we see all the time, right? People who are afraid of change or different perspectives, and others who believe we should always be learning and asking questions. The book asks us, should knowledge be free for everyone, or should some ideas be forbidden? Another powerful theme is the nature of truth. Throughout the story, everyone has their own version of the truth. The monks see demons, the abbot sees a political problem, and William sees a trail of evidence. The name of the rose shows us that finding the absolute truth is incredibly difficult, maybe even impossible. Our own beliefs, fears, and desires can shape what we see. William's method of using logic and deduction is a search for truth, but even he admits his own limits. The world is a complex place, and sometimes the best we can do is gather the pieces we have and create a story that makes sense to us, just like Edzo does at the end of his life. Finally, the book teaches a beautiful lesson about love and loss. Edzo's fleeting encounter with the peasant girl is the only source of pure, simple love in the story. It's a light in the darkness of the monastery. Even though he loses her, the memory stays with him forever. The destruction of the library is a much bigger loss, the loss of knowledge, history, and human achievement. The book reminds us that everything we build and everything we love is fragile. But even after terrible loss, the memories and the lessons we learn remain. The story itself is Edzo's attempt to preserve what was lost. The message is that we should always champion curiosity and reason over fear and superstition. We should question authority and never be afraid to seek the truth for ourselves, even if it's difficult. And we should cherish the knowledge and love we find in our lives, because they are precious and can be lost in an instant. What do you think? Is it better to protect people from dangerous ideas, or should all knowledge be free? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this summary, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into great books. Thanks for watching. Have you ever wondered what people would do if they had to escape a massive crisis? What stories would they tell to keep their spirits up? Imagine being stuck somewhere with your friends, with nothing to do but talk. What would you talk about? Well, a book written hundreds of years ago explores just that. It's called The Decameron, by an Italian author named Giovanni Boccaccio. The Decameron was written way back in the 14th century, but don't let its age fool you. This isn't some dry, dusty old book. It's a collection of 100 stories, and it's surprisingly modern and relatable. Boccaccio wrote it in the aftermath of a devastating plague that swept through Europe, known as the Black Death. He wanted to create something that would entertain people and give them hope in a dark time. And that's exactly why it's still so powerful today. It shows us how storytelling can be a way to heal, connect, and understand the world, even when everything seems to be falling apart. It's a celebration of life, love, and human resilience. Our story is set in Florence, Italy, during the terrifying outbreak of the Black Death in 1348. The city is in chaos. People are getting sick and dying everywhere, and society is breaking down. Amidst this fear and despair, we meet our main characters, a group of 10 young, wealthy people. There are 7 young women and 3 young men. They are all smart, well-educated, and frankly, terrified. They see the world they know collapsing around them and decide they can just sit and wait for the worst to happen. So, what do? They make a bold decision. They decide to leave the chaos of the city behind and retreat to a beautiful, secluded villa in the countryside. They want to create their own little paradise, a safe haven away from the plague. Their goal is simple: to survive, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. They want to maintain a sense of order, beauty, and joy in a world filled with suffering. The main problem they face is how to pass the time and keep their minds off the horror they've left behind. They need a way to structure their days and keep their spirits high. This is where the real genius of the story begins. Once they arrive at the villa, they establish a set of rules for their new life. To keep themselves entertained and their minds occupied, they come up with a brilliant plan. For 10 days, each person will tell one story per day. That's 10 stories a day, for 10 days, making a grand total of 100 tales. Each day, one person is crowned the king or queen and gets to choose the theme for that day's stories. This structure provides the framework for the entire book. The stories they tell are incredibly diverse. They are not just simple little fables. They cover every aspect of human life. You'll hear tales of clever tricks and witty comebacks, where quick-thinking characters outsmart the powerful or foolish. There are hilarious stories that will make you laugh out loud, often involving misunderstandings, mistaken identities, and absurd situations. You'll find tales about everyday people, merchants, artisans, and peasants, giving us a vibrant snapshot of medieval life. But it's not all just fun and games. Many of the stories dive deep into the complexities of love. There are tales of passionate, romantic love that triumphs over all obstacles. And then there are stories of tragic love, where lovers are separated by fate, family, or misfortune, leading to heartbreaking ends. The book explores love in all its forms: forbidden, unrequited, and true. Some stories are quite spicy and daring for their time, challenging the strict moral codes of the era. They show characters who follow their desires and passions, sometimes with funny and sometimes with serious consequences. As the 10 days go by, the group creates a perfect, orderly world within their villa, a stark contrast to the death and disorder back in Florence. They spend their days telling stories, singing songs, dancing, and enjoying the beauty of nature. They create a temporary utopia, a small society founded on reason, pleasure, and fellowship. The storytelling becomes more than just a pastime. It becomes a way of processing the world. Through their tales, they explore morality, human nature, and the unpredictable nature of fortune. The key turning point isn't a single dramatic event within the frame story of the 10 storytellers. Instead, the turning point is the cumulative effect of the 100 stories themselves. As they share these tales, the characters and we as the readers begin to see a bigger picture of humanity. We see people at their best and their worst, their most clever and their most foolish, their most noble and their most base. The stories act like a mirror, reflecting the full spectrum of human experience. After the 10 days are over and the 100 stories have been told, the group makes another important decision. They decide it's time to return to Florence. Their self-imposed exile is over. They don't know what they will find when they get back, but they return with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of life. The ending is quiet and thoughtful. They have successfully survived the worst of the plague, not just by hiding, but by actively creating a world of beauty, order, and meaning through storytelling. They have used art and community to conquer fear. The story ends, leaving us to ponder the power of the tales they shared. So, what are the big ideas in the Decameron? One of the most important themes is the power of storytelling. Boccaccio shows us that stories are not just for entertainment. They are essential for survival. They help us make sense of a chaotic world, they connect us to each other, and they teach us about ourselves. In the face of death, the characters choose to create and share stories, which is an incredible act of celebrating life. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, creativity and imagination can be powerful tools for healing. Another major theme is the role of fortune, or luck, in our lives. Many of the stories show how quickly a person's life can change. A rich person can become poor overnight, and a poor person can suddenly find wealth. Fortune is presented as a powerful, unpredictable force, like a spinning wheel that raises some people up and brings others down. But the book also suggests that while we can't control fortune, we can control how we react to it. The most successful characters are often the ones who are intelligent, adaptable, and quick-witted. They use their ingenuity to navigate the ups and downs of life. Finally, the Decameron is a profound exploration of human nature. The book doesn't shy away from showing people's flaws. We see characters who are greedy, lustful, deceitful, and foolish. But we also see characters who are noble, generous, loyal, and incredibly clever. Boccaccio seems to be saying that humans are complex and contradictory. He celebrates our intelligence, our capacity for love, and our resilience in the face of hardship. He encourages us to look at people without judgment and to appreciate the messy, beautiful, and often hilarious business of being human. So, what's the life lesson we can take from the Decameron? Perhaps the biggest lesson is that in times of crisis, community and creativity are our greatest strengths. When faced with fear and uncertainty, turning to our friends and sharing our stories can be a powerful way to cope and find hope. It teaches us to value life, to find joy in simple pleasures, and to use our intelligence and wit to overcome challenges. The Decameron is a timeless reminder that even when the world seems to be falling apart, the human spirit can triumph through connection, laughter, and a really good story. What did you think of these tales? Would you have joined the group in the villa? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this summary, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more easy guides to the world's greatest books. Thanks for watching. Have you ever felt like you're chasing a ghost from your past? Maybe a memory of someone you never really knew, but whose story shapes your own. What if you had to travel to a ghost town to find answers? That's exactly what happens in the incredible book, Pedro Páramo by Juan Rulfo. This masterpiece was written by the Mexican author Juan Rulfo and first came out in 1955. It has a very special kind of story, often called magical realism, where strange, dreamlike things happen in a very real-world setting. Even though it was written decades ago, its story about memory, power, and family secrets feels just as powerful and relevant today. It's one of those books that stays with you long after you finish it, making you think about your own history and the people who came before you. Our main character is a young man named Juan Prachado. On her deathbed, his mother makes him promise one thing: to go to the town of Kamala to find his father, a man named Pedro Páramo, and claim what is rightfully his. Juan has never met his father, but he's heard stories. He imagines Kamala as a beautiful, green paradise, just like his mother described it. His quest is simple, or so it seems. He just wants to find his father and understand his own roots. But the problem is, Kamala is not the paradise he was promised. It's a dry, hot, and empty ghost town, and finding his father is going to be much harder and stranger than he could ever imagine. So, Juan Prachado arrives in Kamala, following his mother's final wish. He expects a lively town, but instead, he finds dusty streets and silent houses. The air is heavy and hot. He meets a few people along the way, but there's something odd about them. They talk in whispers, sharing fragmented memories of a time when the town was alive. They all seem to know his father, Pedro Páramo. They speak of him with a mix of fear and respect. As Juan listens, he starts to piece together the story of this mysterious man who once owned everything in Kamala: the land, the houses, and even the people. Juan starts to realize that the people he's talking to aren't exactly alive. He's talking to ghosts, echoes of the past who are trapped in Kamala, forever reliving their memories. They tell him stories about Pedro Páramo. We learn that Pedro was a ruthless man. He started with nothing, but through cruelty and clever tricks, he became the all-powerful landowner, the cacique of the region. He took what he wanted, whether it was land or women, and he was responsible for many of the town's tragedies. The voices tell Juan about Pedro's violent acts, his control over everyone's lives, and the deep sadness that haunted him. As Juan wanders through this town of murmurs, the story shifts. We start to see the past directly through flashbacks. We see Pedro Páramo as a young boy, hopelessly in love with a girl named Susana San Juan. This love is the one pure thing in his life. But Susana is taken away, and Pedro spends the rest of his life obsessed with finding her again. His ambition and cruelty seem to be fueled by this loss. He builds his empire, hoping it will bring her back. Eventually, he does get Susana back, but she is a broken woman, lost in her own world of grief and madness after the death of her first husband. Pedro can own everything, but he can't own her mind or her heart. She lives in his house like a ghost, and her indifference drives him deeper into despair. This is the key turning point. When Susana finally dies, the whole town celebrates with a festival because they think the endless ringing of bells is for a fiesta, not for her funeral. Enraged by their disrespect for his one true love, Pedro Páramo vows to take revenge. He sits back and crosses his arms, promising that Kamala will starve. And it does. The town slowly dies, people leave or perish, and it becomes the desolate ghost town that Juan Prachado finds. But what about Juan? The story takes another strange turn. The oppressive heat, the constant whispering of the dead, and the weight of all these sad stories become too much for him. Overwhelmed, Juan Prachado himself dies. Yes, he dies from fear, suffocated by the sheer number of ghosts all talking at once. But his death isn't the end of his story. He is buried next to another ghost, and even in death, he continues to listen to the whispers, trying to put together the full picture of his father's life and the death of Kamala. The end of the book focuses on Pedro Páramo's final moments. He's an old, lonely man, haunted by the memory of Susana. As he dies, he crumbles into a pile of stones, just like the dead and empty town he created. The story ends where it began, in silence and dust, a powerful and haunting conclusion. So, what are the big ideas in this book? One major theme is the power of the past and memory. In Kamala, the past isn't just something people remember, it's physically present. The ghosts are stuck, repeating their stories forever. This shows us how our family history and unresolved issues of our ancestors can deeply affect us, sometimes without us even knowing it. You might see this in your own life, in family traditions or unspoken rules that have been passed down through generations. Another huge theme is the abuse of power and its consequences. Pedro Páramo has absolute control over Kamala, and his actions lead directly to its destruction. He thinks his power can get him anything, but it can't buy him love or happiness. In the end, his power only brings ruin to everyone, including himself. This is a powerful reminder that true strength isn't about controlling others, but about connection and compassion. We see this in the real world all the time, in politics, at work, or even in personal relationships, where a desire for control can poison everything. Finally, the book explores love and obsession. Pedro's lifelong love for Susana San Juan is the driving force behind everything he does. But it's not a healthy love, it's an obsession. He wants to possess her, not truly connect with her. This teaches us a really important lesson about love. A healthy love is about freedom and respect, not ownership. When love turns into obsession, it can become destructive, causing pain for everyone involved. The big life lesson from Pedro Páramo is that our past is always with us, and unresolved pain can echo through generations. It shows us how unchecked power and obsession can destroy not just individuals, but entire communities. It encourages us to listen to the stories of our families, to understand where we come from, and to break cycles of pain and control. It's a story that urges us to seek connection over control and healing over revenge. What did you think of this journey into the ghost town of Kamala? Have you ever felt haunted by a story from your family's past? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this summary, please give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more easy guides to the world. As greatest books. Thanks for watching. Have you ever made a promise to yourself, like I'll quit smoking tomorrow, or I'll start that project next week, but tomorrow never seems to come? Do you sometimes feel like you're your own worst enemy, making choices that don't make any sense, even to you? If that sounds familiar, you're going to love this story. Today, we're diving into a hilarious and surprisingly deep book called Confessions of Zeno by Italo Svevo. Confessions of Zeno was written over 100 years ago by an Italian author named Italo Svevo. but it feels like it could have been written yesterday. It's a special kind of novel because it's told as a diary, or a series of confessions, that our main character writes for his psychoanalyst. Svevo was one of the first writers to really explore the strange and funny ways our minds work. He was friends with James Joyce, the famous author of Ulysses, and they both were pioneers in writing about the inner thoughts of their characters. This book is not about grand adventures or epic battles, it's about the battle inside one man's head, and that's what makes it so relatable and timeless. Let's meet our hero, Zeno Cosini. Zeno is a wealthy, middle-aged man from the city of Trieste. On the surface, he has it all: money, free time, no real need to work. But inside, his mind is a chaotic mess. Zeno is what you might call a hypochondriac. He's constantly convinced he has some terrible illness. One day it's his heart, the next it's his muscles. His biggest struggle, though, is his smoking addiction. He's obsessed with quitting. He writes down the date and time of his last cigarette over and over again, only to light up another one moments later. He believes this final cigarette will be more enjoyable because it's the last one, creating a cycle he can't escape. Zeno wants to be a better person, a good husband, a successful businessman, a healthy man, but he keeps getting in his own way. His biggest problem isn't the world around him, it's himself. The story begins when Zeno's psychoanalyst, Dr. S., gets fed up with him. Zeno suddenly quits therapy, so the doctor publishes Zeno's private memoirs out of revenge. And that's how we get to read his confessions. Zeno starts by writing about his desperate attempts to quit smoking. He even goes to a clinic, but he can't stand being locked in, so he convinces a nurse to let him out for a bit, promising to return. Of course, he never goes back. Then, Zeno tells us about his father. Their relationship is complicated. His father is a practical man who doesn't understand his dreamy, indecisive son. He thinks Zeno is lazy and foolish. Before he passes away, in a moment of confusion, his father slaps him. Zeno is haunted by this final act. Was it an accident, or was it a final judgment on his character? He spends the rest of his life trying to figure it out and prove his father wrong. Next up is Zeno's chaotic love life. He decides it's time to get married, so he starts spending time with the Malfendi family. The father, Giovanni Malfendi, is a successful businessman whom Zeno deeply admires. Giovanni has 4 daughters. Zeno first falls for the most beautiful one, Ada. He proposes to her, but she rejects him, saying she doesn't love him. Heartbroken but determined to marry someone from the family, he immediately proposes to the next sister, Alberta. She also turns him down, as she's focused on her career. In a state of total confusion and desperation, he ends up proposing to the third sister, Augusta. She's not considered as beautiful as Ada, and she even wears glasses, but she has a kind and steady heart. To his surprise, she accepts. And here's the funny thing. His marriage to Augusta turns out to be the most stable and peaceful part of his life. Augusta is practical, calm, and manages their household perfectly. She loves him unconditionally, even though she doesn't fully understand his anxieties. Zeno finds a strange kind of happiness with her, but that doesn't stop him from making more bad decisions. He starts an affair with a poor young singer named Carla. He feels guilty about it the whole time, trying to be a good lover and a good husband simultaneously. He gives Carla money and tries to help her career, but the whole affair is filled with anxiety and awkwardness. Eventually, Carla leaves him for her music teacher, and Zeno is strangely relieved. Zeno also tries his hand at business with his brother-in-law, Guido. Guido is handsome, charming, and seems to be good at everything Zeno isn't. Ada, the woman Zeno first loved, ends up marrying Guido. Zeno is both jealous and admiring of him. They start a company together, but Guido is a terrible gambler and makes one bad decision after another. He loses a lot of money and fakes a suicide attempt to get sympathy and money from his wife Ada. The plan works, so he tries it again. But this time, he gets the dosage wrong and accidentally ends his own life. The tragedy is made even worse by Zeno. On the day of the funeral, Zeno is so distracted that he accidentally joins the wrong funeral procession and misses Guido's burial entirely. This makes Ada hate him even more, believing he did it on purpose. After Guido's death, Zeno steps in to fix the financial mess he left behind. And surprisingly, Zeno turns out to be a brilliant businessman. Through a series of risky but clever stock market moves, he manages to recover all the lost money and even make a profit. For the first time, he feels competent and successful. He realizes that his indecisiveness and constant analysis, which he always saw as weaknesses, can actually be strengths in the unpredictable world of business. The story ends with the outbreak of World War I. Zeno sees the chaos of the war as a reflection of the sickness of modern life. He triumphantly declares that he is finally cured of his neuroses, not through therapy, but by embracing the chaos of life and finding success on his own terms. He realizes that life itself is a kind of beautiful, incurable sickness, and that trying to be perfectly healthy or normal is a fool's errand. So, what can we take away from Zeno's hilarious and messy life? One of the biggest themes is self-deception. Zeno is a master at lying to himself. He says he wants to quit smoking, but his actions show he loves the drama of it. He thinks he's helping Carla, but he's really just trying to ease his own guilt. We all do this sometimes, right? We create stories to justify our actions, even when we know deep down they aren't true. The book gently pokes fun at this human tendency. Another key idea is the randomness of life. Zeno tries to plan his life, to make logical choices about love and work. But his life is shaped by accidents and strange coincidences. He ends up in a happy marriage by proposing to the wrong sister. He becomes a successful businessman after his rival's accidental death. The book suggests that maybe we don't have as much control as we think we do. Sometimes, the best thing to do is to go with the flow and adapt to whatever life throws at you. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? It takes the pressure off of having to make the perfect choice every time. Ultimately, Confessions of Zeno teaches us to embrace our imperfections. Zeno is flawed, anxious, and often ridiculous. But he's also curious, resilient, and deeply human. The story shows us that there's no single right way to live. Health and sickness, success and failure, are not as clear-cut as we think. Zeno finds his health by accepting his sickness. He finds success by accident. His story is a powerful and funny reminder that it's okay to be a little mixed up. It's okay to make mistakes and not have all the answers. That's just part of being alive. So, what do you think? Do you see a little bit of Zeno in yourself? Let me know in the comments below what you think about his crazy life choices. If you enjoyed this summary and want to explore more fascinating stories, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.